Continuing on with the cults of atheism. In my previous clips, I brought up the issue of nihiltheism, otherwise known as Western Atheism, the atheism as we see it in Western countries, which believes in nothing, opposes all order, and is adhered to in the same manner as a religion. I have dealt with the issue of anti-theism, and now I will deal with the issue of Maltheism. That is the belief in a God, but that God is evil. So looking back to where this came from, we look at the issue of Gnosticism. Now, Gnosticism really should mean just the attainment of knowledge, or the journey in order to attain knowledge. But Gnosticism should be viewed in the same way as theism. That is, the belief in a God and a religion surrounding it. So we can have, Jewish theists, Christian theists, Islamic theists. We can also have Hindu theists. It's just a belief that there is a God, or gods. But with Maltheism, there is a belief in a God, but it's perceived as that the God is evil. And with Western atheists, if you bring up the question, what would you do if you discovered that there is a God? And they will say, well, such a God would not be worthy of my worship or acknowledgement. And this is a very important point, in the fact that they are willing to concede that there is a God, but that God's not for them. So one might ask, who is their God? Gnosticism is a collection of different philosophies. Everything from the writings of Plato to the beliefs of the Essenes, which were an Israelite sect. And Gnosticism relies largely on the writings of the ancient Greeks, which is what atheists always refer to the writings of the ancient Greeks as a background for their philosophy. So, looking at it from the modern point of view, or what they call neo-Gnostics, who hold that the God of Abraham is a malevolent entity, and which is what most all Western atheists vomit their hatred against the God of Abraham, and specifically the God of Abraham. So how would they see such things, especially in relation to Christianity? Now, with Gnosticism, some people see Jesus as being sent by the real God, because in Gnosticism, the entity we call the Holy Father, or Jehovah, or Allah, is deemed to be a demiurge, that is, a lesser God than the original creator God. So, with Jesus, some of them see him as a saviour sent by the real God in order to liberate mankind, and yet some of them see Jesus as a messenger of a fake God, the demiurge. And when you try to have an overview of it, you have to ask, who is the God of the Maltheists? Well, looking at it now, especially that religion now is put into a political context rather than a spiritual one, we have to look at globalist type organizations and entities. So if you look at the United Nations, and they have, I suppose you say, a branch called the Lucis Trust, which was earlier known as the Lucifer Trust. And the Maltheists, the ones who hold that the God of Abraham is a malevolent entity and not the real God, they actually worship Lucifer, or if you want to say Satan. That is their God. So when you look at when the United Nations was being brought together, a lot of people who are responsible for this had a background in things such as theosophy, which is pretty ambivalent regarding Lucifer. They see him as either a fallen angel for humanity, or they see him as the real God. And this is what these people are pushing. So either by design or by default, Western atheists serve the interest of Lucifer, who is, quite frankly, the Satan. And you could put in, just to make it a bit more complicated, that Moloch is the Satan. And when you look at things that are happening now, what Western atheists actually are fanatical about: world government, abortion, especially abortion, and all sorts of, what you would say, Marxist liberal leanings, they have to be counted amongst the army of Satan. You know, they may not think they're within its ranks, but they certainly are the foot soldiers and logistics people. So, Gnosticism completely is kind of difficult to explain in one go. But Maltheism is quite evident what it is. It is part of Western atheism, and as with anti-theism, they both complement and supplement each other. But we still have one more issue to deal with: misotheism, the hatred of God, which is the glue that brings these two together. Make no mistake, atheists in Western countries are political. They are not like Buddhists. They are not like, I suppose you could say, Jains. Western atheists are bad people. It's as simple as that. They have no concept of shame or humiliation, which explains why they carry on the way they do. They may think they're worshipping themselves, but they serve only one wannabe God. And one thing I would like to point out is that Maltheists believe that there is a God, but this lesser God has somehow hijacked us and the universe. Well, by their own admissions, if they truly adhere to this, they confirm panentheism. That is, we are all contained within God. But how could and this is a question, how could a god be prevented from accessing all areas of existence by a lesser god? It's just not possible. Unless the one they call God just does not have the power to do so. And that would actually describe Satan. So, one more part to go, dealing with Maltheism and their prophetess, or their prophet, let's not be sexist, Margaret Sanger.